Hello there, my fellow myth and fantasy nerds. My name is Tanner, and I'd like to welcome you back to my YouTube channel. So, that awkward moment when you have a doctor's appointment that was meant to be a simple checkup, and the doctor advises you to get a flu shot, saying you'll just get a sore shoulder, and yet you get sick for a week, and then you catch a stomach bug, so you feel terrible for another weekend, and so you film literally the day your video is supposed to be uploaded. Yeah. Anyway, for this week's video, I thought I would tell a fairy tale that is maybe not as well known as those such as Cinderella or Jack and the Beanstalk. However, it was codified by Hans Christian Andersen, who is very well known for his fairy tales, just as much as the Grimm brothers. As with my other myth and legend retellings, linked to the playlist up in the cards and in the description down below, I will try to keep this as close to the original as I can, while also taking some creative license when and where it is needed. Now, minor content warning, there will be some parts of the story that get pretty graphic, so I advise you to proceed with caution. So as always, please make sure to leave a like on this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe down below. Pretty please! It'll help me make more content for you. And without further ado, here is the story of the Tinderbox. Once upon a time, a tired soldier trudged down the path on his way home from years of campaign. As he walked home, he came across an old woman, hunched over, wrinkled, hands like claws. "Good afternoon, good sir," she said to him. "I can see by your uniform and your sword that you are a soldier. How would you like to earn a little money helping me with a task?" The soldier pondered this for a moment. "Just how much money would I earn?" "As much as you can fit in your pockets and your knapsack," came the reply. "Very well. What do you need me to do for you?" The woman led the soldier to what appeared to be an old dead tree. "This tree is actually hollow inside, and I need you to climb in and retrieve something for me. There should be 3 rooms, and they each contain a treasure chest, one filled with copper coins, one with silver coins, and one with gold coins. You can fill your knapsack and your pockets with as many of the coins as you can carry. I only ask that you find and bring me my tinderbox." "But how am I to get back out if and when I find it?" he asked. "Very simple. I will tie a rope around you and pull you out. Do not let my aged and wizened appearance fool you. I am actually quite strong." "So, let me get this straight. There are 3 rooms with 3 chests filled with money and possibly your tinderbox, and the chests are just sitting there with nothing guarding them?" "Well, I wouldn't say there's nothing guarding them. The treasure chests do have guardians, but you needn't worry about them." The old woman took off her blue and white checkered apron and gave it to the soldier. "Simply lay this on the floor of the room, and the enchantment on it will keep the guardians docile long enough for you to open the chests and take as much as you can." With that, the soldier was convinced, and he tied the rope around his waist and had the old woman lower him into the hollow tree. Down, down, down. Inside the tree and then below the roots, the soldier found himself in a room lit with torches all along the walls and with 3 doors in front of him, just as the old woman said. Okay, the soldier said to himself, I have a 1 in 3 shot at finding the room that the tinderbox is in. Which door should I try first? The soldier ultimately decided to try the door to his right. He turned the key in the lock and opened the door just enough to peek inside. By the light of the torches, he could see a large room, mostly empty, but with a chest in the middle of the floor. As he looked in further, he saw 2 large orbs glowing in the torchlight. The orbs seemed to move towards him, but, thinking quickly, he took the blue checkered apron and laid it down on the floor of the room, closing the door quickly behind him. He waited for a few seconds and then opened the door again. There, sitting on the blue checkered apron, was a very large dog with copper-colored fur and eyes the size of teacups. The soldier, understandably, gave the dog a wide berth and made his way over to the chest in the middle of the room. He opened it, finding it unlocked, unsurprisingly, considering the chest was guarded by an enormous teacup-eyed dog, and inside he found the chest was filled to the brim with copper coins. He took handfuls of the coins and placed some in his pockets and some in his knapsack, taking care not to overfill either so he could put in some silver and some gold. He looked around the room as he did so, but he couldn't see any sign of the old lady's tinderbox. The soldier moved to the door and yanked the apron out from under the dog, closing the door immediately behind him. 1 down, 2 to go, the soldier muttered to himself. With that out of the way, the soldier decided to try the door in the middle of the other 2. He opened that door, and just like with the last room, he saw it was mostly empty, with a chest in the middle and 2 much larger orbs glowing in the torchlight. Just as he did previously, the soldier laid down the blue-checked apron, closed the door, and waited. When he opened it again, he saw, to his utter disbelief, the guardian of this chest was another dog, this one much larger than the previous one, with fur the color of silver and eyes the size of dinner plates. The soldier moved around this considerably sized beast and moved over to the chest. Once again, he saw no signs of the tinderbox, but of course, he opened the chest and filled his pockets and knapsack with handfuls of silver, careful to leave some room for gold. Just like with the other room, the soldier moved to the door, yanked the apron out, and closed the door behind him. 2 down, 1 to go, the soldier muttered. He finally settled on opening the door to his left. Just like with the other 2 rooms, it was mostly empty, with a chest in the middle of the room and 2 of the biggest glowing orbs he had ever seen. Just like before, the soldier placed the blue-checked apron on the floor, closed the door, and waited. As he opened the door, he could hardly see the blue-checked apron at all. This was because, to the soldier's sheer horror, sitting on the apron was the biggest dog he had ever seen. The pooch had golden-colored fur, and his eyes were the size of carriage wheels. The soldier could hardly move around the beast, large as he was, And sure enough, inside the chest was as much gold as the soldier could ever want. The soldier filled up as much of his pockets and knapsack as he could with gold. He also filled his hat and his boots with gold as well, for good measure. As he made his way out of the room, there, in the corner, just behind the door, was the tinderbox. He quickly grabbed it and made his way out the door, taking the blue checked apron as he did so. "All right, I have what you asked me to get," he called up to the old woman. "Now pull me out, if you please." The old woman, strong as she was, easily pulled the soldier out of the hole, even though his knapsack, pockets, cap, and boots were filled with riches. "Thank you so much, my dear," the old woman said. "Now give me my tinderbox." The soldier was about to, but then paused. "Why is this tinderbox so important to you, anyway?" "Why does that matter?" the old woman asked him. "You have your money, just give me my tinderbox." "Does it have any special properties?" "None of your business, just give it to me." "You know what? If you don't tell me what you plan to do with this tinderbox, you'll lose your head." "I said it's none of your business, and I mean it's none—" But the witch never got to finish her sentence. Her body slumped to the ground, and her head, mid-sentence, rolled a little ways away. The soldier pocketed the tinderbox, emptied his money into her apron, and tied it into a bundle to carry it. He made his way to the nearest town, and a very nice town it was, and rented out the finest room in the finest inn he could find. He ordered his favorite foods and drinks, and even bought himself some fine clothes and some new boots to replace his old shabby ones. He even made friends with some of the nobles, and they told him the latest gossip. "Say, who lives in the copper tower over yonder?" he asked one of the nobles one day. "Why, that would be the lovely princess," the noble replied. "And why does she live in the tower?" "Ah, because there is a prophecy that the princess will not marry a prince, but a common soldier," came the reply. "Of course, the king, her father, is not a big fan of his daughter falling in love with and marrying a common soldier, so he locked her in a tower, and no one is allowed to visit her except for him." These stories made the soldier want to see this princess, but he knew her father would never let him visit, so he just made himself busy with other things. He became well liked by all in the town, from the highest noble to the poorest beggar, whom he would give generously to. He remembered what it was like to live with not even a copper coin to his name. However, with all his generous spending and giving away, soon the soldier found himself with only a few copper pieces left. The soldier had to leave his elegant room and rent the cheapest one the inn had, which was a drafty little place near the roof. He even had to sell some of his good clothes to afford that room and to feed himself. None of his noble friends came to see him, or frankly wanted to associate with him now that he was poor. One dark and bitterly cold night, he remembered the old woman's tinderbox and decided to light a fire in the meager hearth. He took out the tinderbox, took the flint and steel in hand, and struck them together once. No sooner had the sparks showered, the soldier felt a gust of wind blow through his door, and then he felt warm breath on the back of his neck. "What are your orders, my master?" came a voice. The soldier slowly turned around, and there, right behind him, sat the copper-colored dog with eyes the size of teacups. The soldier stared at the dog and then said, Did did you just talk to me? The dog rolled its teacup-sized eyes and said, Yes, yes, I did. Now, what are your orders, my master? Well, can you get me some money? No sooner had the soldier said it than it was done. The dog immediately turned around and brought him a big bag of copper coins before disappearing into the night. The soldier soon learned on subsequent nights that if he struck the flint and steel once, that would summon the coppery teacup-eyed dog. Twice would summon the silvery dinner plate-eyed dog, and 3 times would summon the golden carriage wheel-eyed dog. Not only this, but they would do anything that the soldier, who they called Master, would tell them. The soldier was soon able to get back enough money to move into his lavish room, afford better clothes, eat his favorite foods again, and soon his friends among the nobles wanted to associate with him. One night, the soldier wondered aloud, if her father is the only one to see her, how can anyone know how beautiful the princess really is? When he thought of this, an idea struck him. He took out his enchanted tinderbox and struck the flint and steel once. Immediately, the coppery teacup-eyed dog appeared before him. What are your orders, my master? I know it's late, but I would like to see the princess that is said to be locked in the copper tower. Can you please bring her here to me? No sooner said than done. The dog ran to the tower and soon came back, the princess sleeping peacefully on his back. She was beautiful, that princess. All the descriptions the soldier's friends gave of her did not do her beauty justice. The soldier found himself falling in love with the princess, and he sat there stroking her auburn hair, whispering sweet nothings to her as she slept, until it was time to return her before she woke. The soldier gave the princess a sweet peck on the cheek and sent his dog away, returning her to her tower and her bed. The very next morning, when the king and queen went to visit their daughter, she told them she had the most wonderful dream. I dreamed I was being carried out of my tower window on the back of a large dog with fur the color of copper coins. The dog took me to the home of a gentleman, and he was just the sweetest man. He stroked my hair and whispered sweet nothings in my ear. He even gave me a peck on the cheek before his dog carried me back to my bed. The king and queen were troubled by this, because the way she described this dream, how vividly she recalled it, they wondered if it was even a dream at all. That night, the king and queen assigned a woman of the court to stay with the princess in her tower, saying to her, Make sure the princess's dream stays a dream. Meanwhile, the soldier pined for the princess again. So that night, he summoned his silvery dinner plate-eyed dog and said to him, Bring the princess to me. The dog obeyed, bringing the sleeping princess to the soldier's apartment. What neither the dog nor the soldier knew was that as soon as the princess's attendant saw the dog take the princess away, she followed close behind. When she found the building the soldier lived in, she immediately took a piece of chalk and left an X on the door to help her remember which building the princess was taken to. As the lady made her way back to the palace, the soldier told the dog to take the princess back to her tower. As the dog did so, he noticed a piece of chalk lying on the ground and a large X over the door. The dog figured someone was up to no good, So he took the piece of chalk and put X's on every door he could find, so that no one could figure out where his master lived. The very next morning, after the princess told them about her dream of riding on a large silvery dog, the king and queen took several of their soldiers and followed the lady of the court to where she marked the door. However, they were dismayed to find that during the night someone marked all the doors with an X, so their search was for nothing. However, the queen was a clever woman, and she thought of a plan that she knew would be foolproof. That night, the queen took a piece of silk and sewed a little bag, which she then filled with flour and tied it around her daughter's wrist. She then instructed the lady of the court to take a pair of scissors with her and cut a hole in the bottom of the bag. That way, if and when my daughter gets taken tonight, there will be a trail that we can follow in the morning. That night, sure enough, the soldier summoned his golden carriage wheel eyed dog to pick up the princess. When the lady of the court heard the dog rush in, she took her pair of scissors and cut a small hole in the bag on the princess's wrist. Unbeknownst to the soldier and the dog, the bag of flour left a trail, just as the queen planned it. In the morning, the king, the queen, and their soldiers followed the trail of flour, found and captured the soldier, and sentenced him to hang for his crimes. Oh, this was a new low for the soldier. Captured, thrown in jail, and sentenced to be executed. What was worse, when he was captured, he left his tinderbox behind. As he stared out the bars of his window, the soldier saw a young boy walking past. "Excuse me, young lad," the soldier called out. "Yes, sir," came the reply. "Are you fast?" "I've been told I am. Why?" "Can you do me a favor? If you do this favor for me, I'll give you 4 silver." "What do you want me to do?" "Go to the building I used to live in and bring me my tinderbox." No sooner was this asked, it was done. The young boy ran as fast as he could and returned with the soldier's tinderbox. Soon enough, the platform was built and the noose was knotted and hung. As the soldier was led up the steps to the platform and the noose slipped around his neck, he asked the king for his final request. "If it pleases your majesty, I wish to have one final pipe before I shuffle off this mortal coil." The king thought this a perfectly reasonable request, so he granted his permission. The soldier took out his tinderbox and struck the flint and steel, once, then twice, then 3 times, summoning all 3 of his dogs. "Help me, so I'm not executed," the soldier commanded. It was havoc. The 3 dogs running this way and that way, the king's men and the townsfolk scattering so as not to be trampled by the dogs, and the king and queen cowering in their seats. The soldier stood in front of the king and queen and told them, "Your majesties, I have fallen in love with your daughter, and I am quite sure she has fallen in love with me. I wish to marry her, and I would like to have your blessing in order to do so." The king at first disagreed. However, when the soldier whistled and 6 enormous pairs of eyes stared down at him, he immediately reconsidered and gave the soldier his blessing to marry the princess. The wedding ceremony was called for immediately, and of course, the soldier had his dogs be his groomsmen. They were so big and powerful, no one dared question it. Of course, the king and queen couldn't live forever, so when they were gone, the princess became queen of the land, and the soldier became her king, and everyone lived happily ever after. So, as always, please make sure to leave a like on this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe down below. With nothing guarding them? Well, I wouldn't say there's nothing guarding them. The treasure chests do have guardians, but you needn't worry about. So he locked her in a tower, and no one is allowed to visit her except for him. Okay, and there we have it. That was the story of the Tinderbox. If you liked this video and you want more, please consider leaving a like and subscribing down below so you don't miss any new content from me. Also, if you have any other ideas you want to see in any future videos, please leave your suggestions in the comments down below. Who knows? It might just happen. Alright, well, that's all the time I have for this video, so I'll see you all next week with some brand new content for you. See you guys then.